We are building this Linktree inspired portfolio that is mobile optimized and looks great across screen sizes. We have our profile picture, our name, our title, and also these cool emojis that follow through in the design. Of course, we have some clickable buttons with a nice hover effect. The first one downloads our CV. The second one opens our LinkedIn profile. The third one sends us an email. And the fourth redirects to our Github profile. And in the background, we have a nice modern gradient. If you are ready to build the simplest and most straightforward portfolio website that you will find on YouTube, then this is the project for you. We will be using only HTML and CSS to build this portfolio, and I will walk you through every step of the way. In addition, we'll be using Google Fonts to add a custom font to our website. We'll be deploying and sharing our website for free using Netlify. If you're ready to have an easy, professional looking portfolio up and running in no time, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to just create a new folder on our desktop. I'm going to just call this Linktree Portfolio, like so. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to open our code editor. I use VS Code. And if you are not familiar with that and you don't have that installed, I have a separate video talking you through how to set that up. And you can find that in the description below. Once you have VS Code installed, it's going to look a bit like this. We are going to drag this folder into VS Code, and now we're working within it. And we are going to create our first file here. It's going to be our HTML file. We're going to call it index.html. And index is the standard name for our main HTML file. That's our home page, and in this case we only have one page. If we now type exclamation mark and hit enter, we get a boilerplate starting point for our HTML page. And if you just got confused why these characters jumped around, it is because, let me make this a bit bigger for you. It is because I have an extension installed called Prettier. I have a separate video on installing and enabling Prettier as well, which I will leave in the description below. So go ahead and install Prettier and enable the settings that you need to make that work if you want to auto-format your code like I do. I love using it because it handles all the tabs, all the formatting, all the spacing, so you can focus on the code and the thing you're actually building and not the amount of spacing you have in your code. The next thing you're going to install is Live Server by Retweak Day. You're going to enable that, and that is going to give you this button down here, which is going to enable you to make this go live. I'm going to show you. So hit go live. And that opens a blank page because our HTML is currently blank. But look what happens to this document title here when I change it in the HTML. We're going to call it Warren Wong Linktree Portfolio. And hit save, Control S. Close this Explorer here so we see the code a bit better. And now we see the title up in the URL here bar is also updated. So anything I do here, update, and I hit save, is automatically showing up because we have Live Server installed. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to View and hit Word Wrap, which makes all the code be visible on the screen no matter how small VS Code is. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go into the description of this video. In there, there's a link to an asset folder. That's the GitHub repository. You're going to find the folder called Assets, and you're going to download it and you're going to drag it into the Explorer here, like so. And you want to just copy folder if you get asked for that. And here you can see that you now have an example PDF that you can switch with your own. You have an example emoji that I'm going to show you how to add. And you also have an example profile picture, again, that you can switch with your own. Don't mind this VS Code folder here. You can, in fact, just delete it if you want. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a new file here. We're going to call it style.css. And that is going to be the last file that we need. So to test our style sheet, we're going to say body and curly brackets, And then inside of this body, we're going to say background color. We're going to give it a background color of blue. Hit save, and then nothing is happening because we haven't connected these two files yet. And the way we do that, we're going to go under the title here. We're going to add a link, and we're going to see that we have some options here. We're going to choose the link CSS. And that is automatically giving us the relationship attribute that says that we're linking to a style sheet. And it's giving us the link, the href attribute, that is linking to the correct file name. By default, I called it what I know that it's going to have as default, which is style.css. But if you called it something else like styles, you can just do that as long as it's the same as whatever you called your CSS file. So we're going to hit save, and then we see, again, because of live server, that the changes in the style sheet, the background color of blue, has been enabled on our web page. Perfect. So let's go back to the style. We can just delete that for now. We can leave the body empty. And let's focus on the index.html page at the start. The first thing I want to do is to also enable our emoji here, which is our favicon. So we have a favicon here. And the way we link that up to the website here that we see, we're going to go above style, but below title, we're going to add another link. And we see that we have favicon suggested. So this link has a relationship of shortcut, space, icon. And then the href is pointing to the favicon.ico and type image/x icon. So just keep all of that standard. But here we're going to change that because we see that we have in our Explorer, we see that we have an asset folder. Whilst this is saying that it is in the root directory, which is not correct. So if we remove that in our href, we're going to start with /, which gives us the options here. So we're going to go into the assets, so hit enter, and here we see what we have options in the folder. And we're going to choose favicon.ico. If you're not getting these suggestions for yourself, you might install as well Path IntelliSense, another extension for VS Code, which gives nice suggestions for extensions for file names and file paths. It is very handy and I use it all the time. So now as I have saved, we see that we have our smiley face with a sunglasses up in our browser tab here. Perfect. Now we can move on to the actual body element here. Everything in our HTML is going to live inside of the body. And the first thing we have is we're going to add a header. And inside of the header, we are going to add a figure. And inside of the figure, we are going to add an image. And that is going to have a source to the asset folder again. And this time we're going to choose the image of ourselves. And then for the alt text, we're just going to give it our name, Warren Wong, who is the creator of this photo that I got from Unsplash. It's his name that I'm using, so that is also to give him a bit of representation. So go check out his Unsplash page if you like this photo and would like to see more pictures from him. Then under figure, we're going to add an H1, which is our largest heading, our biggest font basically. We're going to say Warren Wong. And then after the H1, we're going to add an H2, which is slightly smaller. We're going to say full stack developer. There we go. And then inside of here as well, we're going to add the emoji. On Mac, it's Control Command Space. And we can just choose an emoji here. And on Windows, it should be the Windows button plus period. And if that doesn't work, you can always just Google emoji sunglasses. And then you can copy paste it literally from the Google results. The same goes for all the other emojis we are going to be using. And then we are done with our header. After our header, we are going to have a main element, which represents the main content of our web page, logically enough. And then we're going to have an A element, which is basically a link. And to the first link, it's going to be to our asset folder again, and it's going to be to our example CV. And then inside of the link, we're going to add our button. So a button element. And inside of there, we are also going to have another emoji. And it's going to be the book one. And then it's going to be download CV, like so. Now we are going to copy this button and link 3 times because the rest of the buttons are going to look very similar. So target the whole A element. On Windows, it's going to be Alt and Shift. And on Mac, it's going to be Option and Shift. And then you're going to hit down 3 times. And that copies the code that you have selected for as many times as you click the up or down arrow. And then the second button, the second link, we are going to remove everything inside of the href. And we are going to write HTTPS and then colon and then // and here we're going to write www.linkedin.com, like so. Let's test that. Also, let's write LinkedIn here so we know what we are clicking on. That is the second button. It seems to be that was not correctly spelled. LinkedIn, like so. And then it's opening LinkedIn. Great. And then you're going to go to your profile and you're going to obviously copy the correct URL. It's going to be something like linkedin.com/ and then en and then / and then your username. I'm just linking to Warren here, which opens to a random person's profile called Warren. Then we're going to change the books, Control Command space on Mac again, and Windows period on Windows. And we're going to choose the handshake. And then for the next button, that is going to be where we send our email. And here we're going to use something called mail to, and then colon. And then whatever you put after here should be your email. So again, here's an example email. Warren@example.com. And then here we're going to say email. And we're also going to change this emoji to the email box. And then last one is going to be to our GitHub. Here we're going to say https //github.com and then / again your username on GitHub. And we're also going to write GitHub here and also add another icon, in this case this old game logo. And lastly, after main, we are going to add a footer. Inside the footer, we're going to add a simple paragraph element. And here we are going to write and copy, which is the HTML symbol. Let me make the page a bit bigger. As we can see here, it's the HTML symbol for the copyright symbol. And we're going to say Warren Wong 2023, like so. Let me zoom back out. And believe it or not, that is everything we need for our HTML page to work. Now let's go on to our style sheet. And then we're going to go to fonts.google.com in a new tab. Here we're going to search for Poppins. That is the font that we are adding. We're going to click Poppins. And here, when you scroll down, we are going to have a lot of options for a lot of different font sizes. We are just going to get a hold of the regular 400. We're going to select that. And the medium 500. And also the bold 700. Those three. Then in the upper right corner, we're going to view that. We're going to click on this import and we're going to copy that. And we're going to paste that into our style sheet and we're going to remove these style tags like so. Hit save and that is imported. Let's also click on View in VS Code, and hit the word wrap. So we also see the code in the style sheet in one neat way. Then we can close pop-ins, and we are going to target the body, and we're going to also, after the body, write the comma, because we're going to target another element as well. We're going to target the header at the same time, as well as the main element. And then inside of the curly brackets, we're going to give them a display property of flex. I have a separate video on Flexbox. Go check that out if you want to learn more detailed about Flexbox. But basically, we are controlling how the elements are being displayed across our web page. As we can see now, they went from being displayed after each other vertically to being after each other horizontally. We are going to flip that back to being a column by saying flex direction column, and now they are under each other again. And as you can see, they are the buttons are also under each other. And we're going to also align items to the center to get them horizontally centered after each other. Then we are going to target the body. We are going to target the font family of the body, and we are going to say that you're going to use the Poppins font family, and if that is unavailable, you're going to use sans serif, like so, giving us a new font. We're also going to change the color of the text to white, because we're going to also give it a background. And it is going to be a linear gradient. It's not going to be one solid color. It's going to go from left to right. And it's going to have the starting color, well, that's going to be on the left side, 30, like hashtag 30 CFD0. And then comma, the ending color is going to be hashtag 330867, and then save. And here we go, we have our nice modern background. Then we're also going to give the body a margin of 0, because it has a bit of a margin from the start. We're also give it a height of 100 view height, like so. And the reason I removed the margin is because if I now comment it out, Control K C, we see that we have this scroll bar here. When I give the body a view height of 100% of whatever the height of the view here is. But because of the margins, I'm going to show you when I hit inspect. Because of the margins here, let's see if I'm in the body, we see that orange line across the body. That is basically saying that, well, the body is 100 height of the view here, but then it also has this margin. So that's why we get the scroll bar. So to remove the scroll bar, we are basically setting the margin to 0, like so. Then we are also going to justify the content to the center, and that is going to make all of our content all together, everything in the body, also be centered vertically. And we're going to give it a gap between the main elements. So this again, if I inspect, this is giving a gap. If I hover over the body, we see the gap is between the 3 main elements, being header. Let me see if I can zoom in here a bit. The 3 main elements inside of body we see is header, main, and footer. And now I'm giving a gap between those. So if I say 100 here, we see that they get footer, buttons, and then header here, they get the bigger gap. 200, 2000, well, we see it even more, like so. So we're going to set that back to 20 pixels. And then we're going to start using something very exciting, something new to CSS, and that is called nesting. So previously, when I wanted now to target something within the body, I would have to write body, and then I would write, well, let's say figure inside of the body, and then if I wanted to target something inside of figure, which is inside of body, I would say body, figure, image, And then I would have to give that some styling here, which is fine. That's totally a fair way to do it, and that's how we have been doing it. But if you have been exposed to other versions of CSS like less or Sass, we have something called nesting. And that's basically a way to write, well, if it's something within the body, it should be within the body curly brackets, no? So in addition to actually giving body some styling directly here, we can also actually call another element inside of here. So what lives in body? Well, we want to target actually figure, which is inside of body. So we can say figure directly inside of here as if it was a new styling property. So we can say figure, and we can say overflow hidden, like so. And we are gonna say width of 180 pixels and a height of 180 pixels. So as you can see, I'm currently styling our pictures so to make it round and the correct size, and also the correct placement within this cropped element to show our face. So that's the figure here. But as you can see, the figure is living within the body tags here, which is a relatively new feature within native CSS. And that is really, really cool, because now we don't have to use things like Sass or less if it's only to use this feature. This is being processed directly in the browser. We don't need a middleman, so to speak, to make this happen for us. And this might not really be a problem for this small project, but as you are writing large amounts of code and you have a lot of style in your style sheets, this really helps keeping things organized and seeing what is affecting what and where things live, basically. The next thing we're gonna add, so we've made the picture small enough, but now it's just cutting a random piece of wherever that picture was. We actually want to put the face there, so how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's make the image. Let's give it a border radius of 50% to make it round. Let's also just give it a margin bottom of 10 pixels. Like so. This is so that later we're going to have the correct spacing for the text. If I hover over the picture now, we see that the image is actually being is much further down. We're going to give the image a new width and height to match the figure width here. So the way we do that is the image lives within the figure. So in the same way as we did with the body, inside of here, we're going to say image and new curly brackets, and we're going to say that the width of the image is going to be 100% of the width of its parent. So when we save, we see that the width, the image has drastically shrunk now, as we can see. And we're going to do the same with the height, because now it's a bit too short. We're going to say 100% of the height of the figure. But now, because the original size of the image was more long than it was high, it's getting stretched. So what we also want to add here is something called object fit, and then we're going to say cover. And that basically makes it so that it's going to stretch and fit into the place. So if it's lacking something, it's going to be actually cut, and it's going to basically adapt to the shortest length, either the height or the width. So now it has this correct format. Now we just want to make it bigger as well, because the face is quite small. We're going to give it a transform of scale. And we're going to say 2.3 of the original size. But now, of course, it's not correctly placed. So we're also going to give it an object position. And we're going to say from the top, you're going to go 17 pixels down. And then from the right, you're gonna go minus 41 pixels, like so. So that is looking good for our picture. Now we can move on to style our two text elements here. So now we are actually not in image, we are not in figure, but we are still within body. Below this purple curly bracket here, let's give ourselves some space here. And we're gonna target the H1, the biggest heading. We're going to give it a margin of 0, and we're going to give it a font size of 24 pixels, make it a bit smaller. And then we're going to target the H2. We're going to give it a font size of 18 pixels and a margin of 0 in the top, 0 to the right, 5 pixels to the bottom, and 0 to the left. And lastly, a font weight of 400 to make it a bit less thick, making it the name be the priority and the title be take more of a secondary visual style. Then we are going to target the main element. Remember, that's the thing that keeps the buttons here, the main. And inside of here, we're going to give a gap to all the children, which is the buttons, of 20 pixels. And then again, using nesting, we're going to add a button element here, new curly brackets. And we're going to give it a font family as well of Poppins. Let's just go up and copy what we wrote here. There we go. And paste that in there. Save. We're also going to give it a font, let's say weight of 500, making it a bit more bold, and font size of 16 pixels, making them a bit bigger, and also a width of 200 pixels and a height of 50 pixels, making them larger. We also want to give a background color of hashtag FFF, which is pure white. And we want to give a color to the text, hashtag 333, which is on the darker side. And we want to remove the border. It's a bit outdated. None. And also we want to give a border radius of 10 pixels to smoothen out or round out the edges. And then another exciting way we can target using nesting. Previously, when we wanted to give a button a different styling when we are hovering over it, we would have to again write button and then colon hover and then new styling in there. But now we don't have to call the button again, because we can of course nest it within the button. So what we do then is we say and colon hover, and then we add whatever style we want to have. So now it's targeting button hover. So we want to transform the cursor to a pointer when we hover. Let's see. It is working. See, the cursor is transforming. And then we want to also target the background color and say we want to have it FFF, F, and then 00. Actually, we want to give it a hashtag of FFF, save that. Then we can click it, and we can actually drag this all the way down, and this is the transparency. And we can save, so drag it all the way down to 0, and that's going to make it completely transparent. But this doesn't really look good like that. We have to give it a border. So let's give it a border, 1 pixel, solid white. So then it's going to give a border of 1 pixel that is a solid border with a white color. And as we can see, we also need to give it a color to the text for the hover of white. There we go. Okay. And that is it. That is all the code we need to make this portfolio work. Downloading our CV, it works. Some issue with the browser basically is remembering what the site is wrong. If that happens to you, you can stop the live and you can go live again. And that should fix the issue. So now, downloading CV works. Visiting LinkedIn works. Sending an email works, and visiting our GitHub profile works. So this is also another random Warren. Okay, that's cool. Well, now we just have to share this with the world so we can actually share the link and have people visit our profile. What we are going to do then is we're going to go to netlify.com. We're going to log in or create an account if you don't already have one. And then it is quite straightforward. You're going to click this Add New Site button. You're going to deploy manually. Here you can just simply drag and drop the folder that you have on your desktop. We're just going to drag and drop it like that. I'm going to full screen it. Shouldn't take so much time because it's a small project. And here we can see that it is finished and we have a link that we can click on. Click that and we see that we have our website deployed and ready for people to see. And we can see that it is looking good across mobile devices. Now, if you want to change this URL to something more memorable, you can go back to Netlify. You can click the site overview and you can go to site configuration. And here you're going to have an option called change site name. And you can call it Linktree Warren site or wherever you want and hit save. It's still going to give you a netlify.app domain, but it is completely for free. And you can, if you want to, also buy a custom domain. Let's see. If you click domain management here, you can add a domain and buy a custom one and call it whatever you want and get whatever domain ending that you also want. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you would like to see more like this, then feel free to watch the next video here that is recommended for you. And until next time, see ya.